What's good? This is the podcast Out on a Limb, hosted by me, Adam Michalesko. Today's a really neat episode. I got my boy Hunter Kelly in the not building because we're zooming, but
Yeah, we're in opposite places right now.
yeah, I got my boy in quarantine life here. So Hunter, introduce yourself to the people quick.
What's up, y'all? I'm Hunter Kelly. I played football at Penn State for 4 years. Obviously, going to be graduating from Penn State in May via virtual graduation because that's what it's come to now. And then, so I play football and I also do journalism. Same thing as Adam. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So what position were you quick for football, if you want to mention that?
Yeah, I played offensive line, so I played center, snapping the ball and all that good stuff.
He's the main guy that runs the whole offense.
Yeah, you got that right. That's definitely what I do, man.
So how have you been during this whole quarantine season?
Just trying to stay after it. It's obviously tough for everyone, and I've realized that it's just something that we have to do. And there's nothing we can really do to get around it, but just trying to get through it and being creative. I think it's definitely, to be honest with you, I think it's definitely made everyone a lot more creative and things to do, both in whatever you do. For me, with football, it's made me get creative with my workouts, find things that I can do in the backyard and all that kind of stuff. So, I think it's made everyone get creative, but it's tough. It's definitely tough to be isolated in your house, but you're never really alone, as everyone's been saying, reach out to people. And then I try to do that and hang around the family and stuff like that. So, it is what it is, but we're trying to just manage like everyone else.
Yeah. And we're both students, as Hunter just mentioned. And I feel like obviously I'm upset, our school year kind of ended quickly and all, but I keep reminding myself, we're not the only ones that this happened to. Legit, the whole world's like this. Every senior in every college is dealing with the same thing. So,
right.
Like you said, we're not alone in that aspect. So I appreciate that. So before we get more into this, I've been starting out all my podcasts, what's your song of the day? What have you been vibing to recently?
Listen, when you asked me this too, because I listen, I have such a broad range. I think I have a great taste of music because I listen to all kinds of music. It's gone back and forth, honestly. I'm not stuck on one thing. There's a couple of good songs. I'll start off with song Dior by Pop Smoke. I've been I don't know why I've been starting to listen to that for the last couple of days, and it just goes hard, man. I love it. But besides that, when I'm working out, I'm a big rap or rock / metal guy. So my favorite band is Metallica. So okay. I'll listen to Metallica when I work out, their old stuff. I've been listening to their live album from 1993. It's just I don't know, just something about them just gets me going, but but the recent song has been Dior by Pop Smoke. Rest in peace, Pop Smoke. But so that's been it, really. That and Metallica lately.
Okay. I know you're a big Kanye West guy as well.
I am a big Kanye West. Look, all time, obviously he hasn't really put out a song in a while. So right now there's no big song that I'm listening to, but I will always have my days / nights where I just go in the Kanye album or the, the artist area and just hit shuffle and just whatever songs I have, every song from him, and I just let it play because I love Kanye, dude. And anything from Kanye is what I will listen to, believe me.
Do you have a favorite song by Kanye?
That's tough. My favorite, so I have a couple different categories for this, so you might want to hang tight. But so for emotionally wise, anything off the 808s and Heartbreak album is just fantastic. I'd say probably one of my favorite songs from him is called Mama. He obviously talks about his mom in it, and I think about my mom when I listen to it all the time. Another one is Only One. That's a slightly newer song. It's 2015 or something, but that's a good song too. I love that song from the emotional aspect. Pump up aspect, anything off of Yeezus and Monster off of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. you know, you obviously have the classics like Stronger and stuff like that, where that all went mainstream and stuff. But like literally, I don't think, you know, and people might want to debate me on this, but I really don't think Kanye West has made a bad album. Even the last one, like people were like, you know, Jesus is King, like, you know, it was okay. Like it's people weren't used to it, but like it's just so his production, you know, like he's obviously a good artist, but his production is just amazing. That's probably what I like the most about Kanye. And I got to see him at Penn State my freshman year too, so that was probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen. So, but yeah, no, he's my favorite artist. Anyone that wants to come at me thinking they're the biggest fan, come on, man. I've 3 pairs of Yeezys.
I
Yeah,
don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
so
So
I like Kanye. I like, obviously, like you said, Stronger, but also Homecoming. I've been vibing to that
yes,
sometimes.
yeah,
Homecoming's
that's
a
a
good
good one
song.
too. That's definitely a good
Um,
one. It's so hard to list all of his discography. Like it's just so
he's
good.
different. He's so different. Like with the Jesus King, like that was such a different thing from him, and like
Right.
I think that's what's like kind of cool. Like he's always keeping it fresh, and that's what I like.
Yeah, definitely. It's just everything he does is completely new. Like he's always been so innovative in like the stuff that he's done. Like when Yeezus came out in 2013, it was like game changing. Like people were like, "What is this? Like this doesn't sound like hip hop." It like had like a rock feel to it. Like and then you see where rap is at now. There's almost sort of that rock
So
feel to
different.
it. It's like he's way ahead of the game. It's I don't know. He's just awesome, man.
See, I like him. Let me get your opinion on this. Now we're talking about Kanye. When that whole Taylor Swift thing went about, what do you think on that?
All right, so this was just rehashed too, I think, by Taylor Swift, like a couple weeks ago or something. But
Oh, I didn't even know that.
oh, are you talking about the Grammys one?
Yeah, the very first that
The
because that's
Grammys, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, look, Kanye was in a. You have to understand Kanye. He was in a not great place then. I think that was shortly after his mom died too.
Yeah.
He was in a not great place, and he was kind of under the influence all throughout that Grammy night. But
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. He's just a character, really. I mean, I can't sit here and try to like justify what he did because it's still kind of, you know, weird and
Not cool.
uncalled
Yeah.
for. But he's just a character, so it you know, I don't know. It just is what it is to me. But who knows? There was another Taylor Swift incident though that I thought you were talking about initially, where
What is that?
so it was off the Life of Pablo album.
Yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah,
In
yeah,
the
yeah.
in the song Famous, like
Mm-hmm.
I won't reference it here because I don't want to say anything like
Yeah, yeah,
bad,
yeah,
but you know, they, you know, if you go and listen to the song you'll know what we're talking about. But uh he apparently got permission to say what he said about Taylor from Taylor, and then after it released, Taylor said, oh, he didn't get permission to say that, and she was all mad and embarrassed about it. And it's been going on, and she just kind of rehashed it like a couple weeks ago through her Instagram stories or something. I don't know. I saw it through Kim posting something on Twitter, or posting like a thread of tweets on Twitter, and I was like, this stuff again. Like that album was released in what,
yeah.
2016, I think so.
That was a little bit ago.
Right. So it is what it is. But regardless, I mean, Kanye is just a very controversial dude, and I think he just likes to be that way. He was like that with the Trump stuff, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just I like him as a musician, as an artist, and
Mm-hmm.
what he does outside of it, I don't necessarily condone, but I just like what he does as an artist. So
Yeah, I feel like I think with that whole situation, I think right after that song came out and Taylor Swift said she wasn't about it. I think Kim Kardashian posted something like they recorded like
yes,
the phone call supposedly or something like that.
right, yeah, because what they've done is like Kanye has like documented like in depth like all of his creating of like every album. So they
Mm-hmm.
had the tapes of him like calling and like asking her for permission and stuff.
And
So
no one knows if that's fake or real.
nobody
So
knows, but we're assuming. I assume that it's real, but other people
mm-hmm.
may not. I think it just depends on who you're a fan of. If you're a fan of Taylor, you're probably thinking, "Oh, it's fake." Or, you know, he shouldn't have done that, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's a great point. And for my song of the day, it's by G Easy, Opportunity Cost. I've been vibing to that. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
ever heard that
really.
song.
I have
Yeah,
not heard of it. I'll have to go
that
listen to it. Does it
yeah
go
that
hard or like what?
so he's more I just posted on my story actually I think yesterday. It's just the beginning of the lyrics, how he's like talking about like he's gonna like how he's gonna make it, but like he has to do it at a cost, and like I forget the exact lyric, but like it was so neat. And then at the end of the song, I guess it's a voicemail from his mom, and she's
Mm,
like, it was a little emotional, like I guess when he was first like making it big. I think that's what it was off one of his first albums, but
right.
his mom was like saying like, I guess this is your life now. And she's like started getting like a little emotional. I was like, this is such a good song.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I'll have to check that out though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'll text you the link after, or
Yeah, for sure.
song after that. But yeah, so I guess first we're gonna go off of what's your hat all about? Run the damn ball.
Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, but no, I got it. So I'll tell you the story of why I wanted it. So one of the guys you during the interview, you asked me, it might not have made the cut, but some of the people I look up to playing wise is
Mhm.
Jason Kelsey and Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson was drafted a couple years ago, the Colts from Notre Dame. He's left guard, and he's an absolute monster. And when I watch him play, I try to emulate his play because he's just nasty on the line. He just gets after people, right? Like he just
So good.
doesn't care, and it's just
Mhm.
like so he was doing like this autograph session. And I guess the Colts were doing an autograph session or something, and he was wearing this hat. So I was like, I got to get this hat, man. Like, and I got it actually for this past Christmas. I got it when we were down in Texas um, for the like before the Cotton Bowl, and
Yeah.
my mom brought it down, and because I really wanted it, and I was like, I got to wear this, and so like I wore it when we were down there. And guess what? Penn State. Look, we were doing okay in the beginning of the game, but we got after Memphis when we started running the damn ball. So it kind of
It
worked out
just
that
fits.
way.
It
So that
just fits.
it just fits exactly. And as an offensive lineman, there's no better feeling than getting after the guy across from you and just absolutely mauling him, and against his will, really. Like he does not want to move. He doesn't want you to move him, but you're going to move him, and that's part of running the ball. So anytime we get a chance to run the ball, we love it. So that's just kind of what the hat's about.
Yeah, and we're gonna definitely dig into your Penn State life for a little bit, but first I guess we'll talk about like how we're in the same TV class.
Yeah.
It's known as CCR, Center Kind of Report, if anyone's heard about it. So I actually did a story on Hunter throughout the semester, this past semester before quarantine life happened. But yeah, that was a little shorter video. We were gonna do a longer version, but now all this happened, so can't do it. But if you ever want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description for that. And also, before I forget, if you ever want to debate Hunter, you can comment in here, or I'll put social media in the description. You can
Yeah.
talk shit
Put
on
my
them
Twitter on
or
there.
talk to
Give
him.
me a follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I'll go back after Twitter trolls, but that's a different story. But yeah, put my Twitter in there. It's @_Hunter Kelly_. Go follow me on
All
Twitter.
right.
Hit me up with the Kanye debates if you want the smoke.
If you want the smoke. So yeah. So before we dig into football, we'll talk about the CCR class. So you're kind of like one of the top people in this class with getting stories out and content out. I was just curious how you personally find your stories and how you just are able to get it all out there. Because I mean, it's awesome. Everything's really good that you put out.
I really appreciate that. It's just the biggest thing I think is I love doing this, right? So
Mhm.
I don't really look at it as like, oh, I have to do a story this week. Oh, I have to do that. Like I love I love reporting. I love asking questions. I'm a curious person. I love just figuring out how things work, why people do things the way they do them. And so, I love the aspect of being able to just go and do stories and kind of put them out there for people to see, to become more knowledgeable, because that's ultimately our jobs, to make people know more, like know what they need to know. They don't know what they don't know. So if you put it in
Mhm.
front of them, they'll know it, and it's important. So I love doing that. I'll be honest though, with the quarantine, we've obviously, we know it in the class, we've had to get pretty
Creative. Mhm.
creative in what we have to do. We're shooting with our iPhones, we're recording. I go in a closet and record with my phone and put it on the track, and then put the iPhone video over it. It's made us get creative, but I think it's great because we have to think outside the box. We have to think of and with the coronavirus going on, like we have to think of ways to keep the stories fresh, right? Like obviously, yes, you want to do, me being a political reporter, I need to do things on like for national scale news, but you have to find a way to like, okay, what's the different aspect of this? Like, how do we keep it fresh? Because it's getting to people. People don't want to keep hearing about the deaths. And even though it's important that they know that, people are still dying, we have to find a way to keep it fresh so people aren't like, oh, this again, so it's been tough to kind of keep that going, but I think it's been really helpful, and it'll be really helpful in the long run.
Yeah, no, it's definitely has been really hard to get creative. Yeah, I mean, it's fun though. You're right. Like if you love doing this stuff, then it's so worth it. Like this, just anything. And I definitely like being a curious person, because finding some of these stories, definitely very interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very interesting. Some of the things people are doing out there, like
Mm-hmm.
very, very interesting to know for sure.
And I personally always like to meet some like new people as well, and like because some people are just interesting characters, and like
Yeah.
it makes me laugh a lot actually.
There are some funny people out there. Let me tell you, like, there's some people you would not realize are just like hilarious, and it's like,
Oh, it's
as a
great.
journalist, we get to meet all these people, and I'm I'll be honest, I'm not the most social person. I'm not the most extroverted person. I'm really not. I'm actually more
Hmm.
introverted. But I think journalism has actually helped me be more extroverted, because it's part of what we have to do. And,
Right.
um, you know, just kind of finding people's stories, and really, another aspect that I like to do is just really like look at the person, right? And like, you can always look at the story as just a story and like, okay, what are the bits of the story that I have to do? But, when you really look at people as people, and then you ask questions that evoke like emotion, like, well, how do you feel about that? Like, okay, this happened, but you as the person that I'm interviewing, how do you actually feel about that? And I think when you get those responses, it just makes the stories like a million times more interesting and better.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's actually funny. What I believe when we first met, we were in a writing class,
Right.
um,
Yeah, we
and
were. It was news writing.
yeah, news writing, and that was when I just first transferred up to Penn State, and like I always heard about like I'm always hearing about the athletes, and like everyone's like always like geeking over them, and so like I'm in my
Right.
class, and I'm like, and like Hunter's so quiet, and I was like damn, this kid seems cool, but like I don't know how to talk to him, and like but it eventually just rolled along. We were we're both Eagles fans, so
Yeah, both
definitely helped.
go birds, go
Go
birds.
Birds.
But no, honestly, dude, that print journalism, it's tough.
Oh, so hard, dude.
I'm good at, like, I like writing to an extent, and I'm fairly good at it, but news writing is just different. Like, I'm good at writing scripts for, on air stuff, but print journalism just is really tough. So if you guys don't know what print journalism is, it's like newspaper stuff like that, or like articles you see on websites. That writing's tough to do, and I don't like doing it. Just thought you all should know. So
No, it's I mean, I'm definitely glad you put out that point, because it's hard.
yeah,
AP writing is very hard.
yes,
um,
AP style.
AP style is not cool, but let's kind of focus in on football now.
Right.
So I guess we'll start off like you entered the transfer portal, and which is really curious. That's why I did the story on you. I feel like and I want to talk about that more, and like because I feel like it's not as talked about. I mean, it is talked about, but like I feel like it's not, people aren't as educated as it. And like for someone who's going through it, I just thought that would be such a cool story to talk about. That's why I ran it. And so what made you I guess before we'll talk about that, and then we can kind of backtrack a little bit in your life with football. But what made you decide to ultimately enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, so I just wanted to I wanted to play, right? So I had 1 year left of eligibility this year, my fifth year coming up. And I didn't think I was going to get the opportunity that I thought I was at Penn State. And I was like, you know what? I think my best option is to look for a school where they'll give me a shot to go up front and play and dominate and get after some people, so I can put a good year on film, because obviously my aspirations are to go further than college and playing football, which is hard to do, but very possible if I can find a good place to go play and put a good year on film.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean that's 100% awesome. Like you gotta run with your passions no matter what. Like that, I feel like that's a big thing that people should do in life. Follow your passions, and don't give up on stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's take it back a little bit. What made you ultimately decide to get into football?
Well, when I was little, I was around football all the time. My dad was a football coach. My dad played football his whole life. So, I've been around football since I was a little kid. My dad was a high school football coach at the high school that I would eventually go to, Neshaminy High School. And, I would always be up there on the sidelines, watching the game, being a part, filling up the water bottles. And, it was just that put it, I think, honestly, it was just in my blood to play football. And as I got older, obviously got to play in middle school, which is really, well, I played a little bit of like pound football, but I got too big to play because I would have to play in with kids that are way older than me. And
Right.
my parents didn't, it just wasn't worth it. So I waited, really, I played like 2 years of pound football, and then I had to stop. And then I got back into it 7th grade, because that's when you're allowed to in Pennsylvania. And so I started playing for my middle school at Carl Sandburg Middle School down here in southeastern PA, which is my mom's actually the principal of that school. So my mom was the principal, was my principal. And but yeah, so I got to play there, and ever since then, it's just, I love football, love playing it. And I think really, like I said, it's just in my blood.
Did you ever get a detention from your mom?
I did not. But I will say, I will say though, a lot of people think that having your mom as the principal is like, oh man, you probably get away with so much. I won't say that that's the case, because I think if anything happened, I was a good kid. Let's preface it that way. But if anything happened, I'd get in like double trouble, right? So like if anything happened in school, I'd get in trouble in school, and then I'd come home and I'd get in trouble. So, there was, it was, I think, harder. But
you had to be on your best behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. And, my mom being a principal, my dad being a phys ed and health teacher, I come from a family of educators. So like I had to do good in school. Not that that was bad. I think it actually helped me strive for maybe more than we want to, because, aim high, miss high kind of thing. So it's kind of like, it was tough, don't get me wrong, but I think it definitely set me up for kind of the success that I'm having now and will continue to have, hopefully. So, I think, I'm really thankful that things happen that way, because I think things happen for a reason. And, the way things happen like that kind of pushed me to go harder than everyone else. So.
Yeah, and it's funny when you look back at that stuff, and like that teaches discipline. And I 100% agree on everything happens for a reason. That I love that quote. And
yeah, absolutely.
Like no matter so I play baseball, and like whatever happens with that, but like you still work hard at what your passions are, and something happens, and that's why I love that what you said. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll kind of kick it into when you went into high school. Then this is where it's funny because like I'm thinking about like the interview questions I asked, and like I'm not trying to like repeat everything, but like it's almost
it's the same story. Yeah, it's the same story. I mean, look, like high school, I don't know what question you were going to ask, but I just want to preface it by, high school was good in terms of playing football and the opportunities I got there. So yeah, the story is going to revolve around kind of the same questions, because it is, it is my story, and that just kind of is what it is. So sorry, go ahead. I interrupted your question.
No, your story is going to be on 2 platforms now, and hopefully this one gets big. So
yeah, absolutely, let's do it.
especially if you do well, and like your name's out there to be like, oh, this kid talked about it. Like
caught you on the Out on a Limb podcast first.
I got the first exclusive.
You got the first exclusive. First two exclusive, actually. You did a
Oh,
whole
for you're
story
right.
on me and a podcast. Let's
And
do
we
it.
were gonna do a longer version, and maybe that's
I
that's
know.
still in place, but who knows?
I'll send you video of me eating breakfast tomorrow so you can start putting it together.
So I can
This
start
is
putting
how
it
Hunter
together
does his this is how Hunter does his quarantine meals before he goes and has a hard workout in his backyard
in
by
his
the pool.
backyard, and it'll be in your draft profile for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That'd be stupid not to put it in there, but
I know. Of course.
so I guess we'll kind of slip with high school. I guess summarize it to the point where you started getting noticed. So like you it was around what, sophomore junior year if I remember, and then that's
Yes.
when stuff started kicking in. So do you want to kind of talk about that, or
Yeah.
what kind of the process was that?
So junior year was really when the kind of recruiting process picked up for me. That's when schools started visiting me, D2 schools, D1 AA schools. I never received an actual full offer during my junior year, but I did during my senior year. But that's kind of beside the point because it really doesn't matter at this point. But so my junior year, we were getting ready for a Friday night football game, obviously. It was going to be an away game. And my coach called me down during class. I was like, oh, well, this is kind of weird. Why am I getting called down to the coach's office during class? I was a little nervous about what may have happened. Not that anything happened, but, so I went down and, I walk into the office and, Coach Franklin and Coach Sean Spencer were standing right there. And I was like, okay, like obviously I knew Coach Franklin because I think he was in his second season at that point. Or no, it was actually his first season because his first season was 2014 and that was in the fall of 2014. So
Okay.
it was his first season, so I knew he was at Penn State, obviously. And, he was there and I was like, well, hello. And, we kind of shook his hand, shook Coach Spencer's hand. And that's when I first met them. And I think they checked out my tape either before that or after that. And, Coach Franklin actually went to Neshaminy High School, which is the high school that I went to. So, not that gave me an in, really. It was just the fact that he was kind of there visiting / recruiting. And, I got to meet him. And most importantly, I got to meet Coach Spencer, who was the D-line coach for up until last season, now with the Giants. And the thing was he was my recruiter because he recruited the area that I lived in. And so I got to meet him, and then I want to say maybe like I don't know, like not too long after that, Coach Spencer came back to the high school and stopped by, and they pulled me out of class again to talk to him. And he basically offered me the preferred walk-on spot. And, the preferred walk-on is basically you don't have to try out. You'll be on the team. It's just you have to pay. You're not on scholarship, but you didn't have to try out or anything like that. So it was basically a recruited walk-on, preferred walk-on. And so that was cool. And I was like, I obviously still have to weigh out my decisions. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. And, going through the rest of high school and kind of the end of my junior year / senior year was when the recruiting really picked up and schools were visiting a lot. Mainly like D2 schools, a couple D1 AA schools. And, they were talking to me a lot, wanted me out on visits. I went to a couple visits during my, the fall of my senior year. And then I took a visit. I took actually a couple visits. My first unofficial visit to Penn State was their spring game during the spring of my junior year. So I went there. That was like my first unofficial visit. I got to visit the stadium for their spring game, obviously, and then, hang out in the recruit lounge and then go down on the field before the game and then watch the spring game. And that was a great experience because it was really my first time being down on the field and kind of meeting all the rest of the coaches. And then the fall of my sophomore year, I took another visit to Penn State to watch the Michigan game, them against Michigan, and that was obviously an awesome experience. We always know how Penn State games are. And then I took a couple of other D2 visits during that same fall of 2015, And I kind of realized, like, look, I've been dreaming of Penn State since I was little. I had a Penn State jersey that when I was little, I'd run around when it was snowing out and go like play football in the backyard with my Penn State jersey on. And I was like, look, this is kind of the opportunity of a lifetime. So fast forward a little bit, I went and they one day Coach Spencer texted me in like January of 2016, so January of my senior year in high school, and he was like, "Yo, do you want to come next weekend to an official visit?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it," because official visits are sick, man. Like they pay for your stuff, and you come up and you stay like 2 nights, and they tour the whole like campus and everything. You take pictures with the jerseys on and stuff. It
Oh,
was
that's so
cool.
cool.
So at that point I was like, yeah, it's awesome. So I went up there, took the visit. And honestly, after a couple days after that, I was like, look, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. I grew up being a Penn State fan, watching the Penn State games, watching Joe Paterno. And I was like, to come here is, even though I got to pay, like, I think it's worth it.
Hmm.
And so that's what I decided to do. And I committed by, I don't know, like April or so or March maybe of my senior year of high school. So the rest is
So
history.
like that is honestly so cool, and so a lot of people obviously don't get experience what you've got to experience. So like I guess come terms of discipline, like as I'm sure people do in your school, like like, oh, he's getting recruited and all, and like you probably felt like a top dog in the school, but like at the same time I feel like you were very humble about that and like don't really talk about that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was never one to be like, oh, typical jock, let me stuff this kid in the locker. I was
Give him a sword.
really, really against that. And unfortunately, there were some high school kids that were like that, not
Hmm.
necessarily stuffing kids in lockers, but they were like that, those kind of kids. And I was like, that is not me, because first of all, what maybe I failed to mention was I was very much different from the other football players. And here's why: because I actually have been doing acting and singing since I was a little kid.
No, I didn't even
Um,
know that. Wow.
yeah. So, and I knew you didn't know that. I just revealed it to you. That's a big Hunter Kelly bomb in the uh,
Wow.
on the
uh,
podcast. But look, no, I was since before I was playing football, I was doing musical stuff and love being on stage, love acting, love singing. So I've been in musicals like since I was little. So even throughout middle school and then high school, I did all the musicals.
mhm.
So I was very, very different um, than the rest of the football players. And I think that kind of made me humble. It gave me a different like outlook
Mhm.
on the whole high school experience and also how to act as a person, because I'm here are two very opposite things, and I'm kind of bridging the gap for myself. And just being able to do that really kind of humbled me. I was never one, as you know, like I told you, I'm really pretty introverted, and I was even more so in high school. I didn't really talk to many people besides my small group of friends. And so I just even though I became the captain of the team my senior year, I still wasn't that super popular kid, which is fine with me. And so it kind of gave me a different outlook on, you know, was I the top dog? Maybe, but I didn't necessarily see it as that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I guess in that way I was, more humble than most kids would have
Well,
been probably my age.
was there like other kids who were getting recruited as big as you, or was it just you?
I was probably getting um well, just honestly because of Penn State, I was probably the biggest recruit. Even though I wasn't on scholarship
Mhm.
for Penn State, like they didn't offer me, I was still probably the biggest recruit they had in my class there, simply because they were offering me a spot on the team at Penn State. So, but other kids went to good schools too. So, it was good. We had a bunch of good athletes in my school, especially in my class. But yeah, I'd say probably the biggest. Well, I was the biggest school to commit to. I guess that's the best way to
Okay.
word it. But
So could you drop a quick little singing lesson on us, or could you sing it all? You don't have to. I was just messing.
Look, I could, but it wouldn't sound very good because I'm not warmed up at all. You
Oh,
know, you have to do like the warm up. I'll do a little
like
warm
that.
up for you. It's like, yeah, you can do that to warm up your cheeks and your lips, but you can do like a do re mi fa sol la, and you just kind of warm up
Yeah,
like
la
that.
la la
But
la.
la la la, yeah, no, but there's yeah, no. Sometimes I'll sing in the car and I'll sing for like 10 minutes, and like my voice will get really raspy, and it's because like I didn't warm up at all. But yeah, it's just theater geek things, I
That
guess.
is
But
so. That is so cool. And like even acting class, like
yeah, I took
we,
acting classes.
did you ever see like that show All American? Kind of
No,
shameless
I
plug right
didn't.
now.
No.
That's it's I'll have to show you that later on. But it's a show about like this kid growing up and he's like a top athlete in football,
Hmm.
but he's also he lives in Crenshaw in California, and like I guess it's not like a not so great area, and
Hmm.
so like it just shows about like what he has to deal with, but he's also a top athlete, but like he is acting, so I was curious like maybe you could do some acting gigs later on in life
That's
because I would.
honestly that was my dream, and it still kind of is. It's so hard to keep straight in my brain. I have like three dreams. So like I want to go to the NFL. I want to be like a journalist on a network news television, and possibly an actor later on in life. So it's like three dreams. I'm like, if they all come true, I can die happy, to be honest with you.
Hey,
But
I don't I start my neighbor actually, she's like my older sister. She'll be on an episode eventually, but she always said like because I was always saying about like dreams I have and all, and she like kind of stopped me and she's like there's no such thing as dreams or goals, like they're there,
yeah.
and so that's why, because like I would love to do acting. Maybe we could be on a duo episode on something at one point
We
in life.
can do our own like skits on here or something. We could do a whole podcast where we're just doing skits from our houses.
Just being complete idiots would be great. So
I was in yeah, like I said, I've been in musicals. I was in my freshman year of high school, I was in Guys and Dolls. Um
okay.
my sophomore year I was in this show called Pippin. Some people may or may not have heard of it. It's a pretty popular show within the musical community, but
Hmm.
um my junior year, I was in this show called The Drowsy Chaperone. Nobody knows it. And then I was in my senior year, I was in Mary Poppins, which is the biggest
No
role I've
way.
had. I was George Banks, who is the father, and it's a little different than the movie.
Hmm.
The musical is actually more closely detailed to like what the book was because they were books first. But so like George Banks is a way bigger role in the musical, so I had my own musical numbers and I had a lot of lines, but it was probably the biggest role I've had, and I had to do a British accent for the whole thing.
No
So
way.
yeah, so it
See,
was probably the hardest one I've had, but definitely one of the best ones that I've had.
so that's I give you props because I was my senior year of high school. We all had to like be involved with the senior play, and I was involved with it was called Bye Bye Birdie,
Oh yeah,
and so I was like I had such a little role as like the train conductor. So like I had like two lines, but like learning those lines, dude. That's like bigger roles. That stuff's not easy at
no,
all. Learning all those lines.
no, and it's funny because obviously I did musicals, but I also was in like part of our drama department. So we actually had like drama classes in school, and we would do out of school like just straight plays, like no music or anything, just straight plays. Some of them were funny, some of them were serious. So like I played in the one, it was actually about like like a school shooting, and
Hmm.
it was based in the classroom, and it was one of the more serious ones, and I actually played the teacher in that one. So that was a really good role to play, and then I was also in another funny one. But we were working on like monologues in class, and of course, me being the overachiever, I picked probably the hardest monologue to do. I picked Hamlet's monologue, like to be or not to be.
Oh
I did
God.
that whole monologue, and it was one of the hardest monologues to ever memorize. It took me like a month to memorize it, but I finally did it and did that one also in a British accent. But no, that was awesome. So I now can say that I know the to be or not to be monologue. I don't really remember it that well anymore, but I did.
Can you say like a typical British thing right now? Like, would you like a cup of tea?
Would you like a cup of tea? Yeah. To be or not to be? That is the question.
Oh, What
Yeah,
about
thank you.
is good day, mate? That's
That's
Australian, right?
good eye, mate. Yeah, that's
Good day,
Australian.
mate. All right, then I just goofed that up.
Pip pip
but
cham. Yeah.
yeah, pip pip the doodly doo, Drake and Josh plug. but so so
That's really good.
um, as you're entering Penn State, then after all this went down, I feel like it's such a different atmosphere, and so well, first off, I guess. Oh, I'm checking my battery. Wow, I'm at 25%. That's not good. But
Let's
so
wrap it up quick.
no, it sucks. If it gets cut short, we're gonna do like another part of this, and then I'll have to cut it and
Part
edit it
two.
all. Yeah, but anyway, so before I get into the one question, what's your songs warming up on game day? Like, because when I work on the sidelines, for like my whatever,
Yeah.
I always see you with your headphones on. So like,
Oh
what were
yeah.
you listening to?
So this year I had a very specific way that I listened to my music every game. So no matter if it was home or away, it didn't matter. So I would always put on, there's this edit on YouTube of like the song Black Skinhead by Kanye off the Yeezus album.
Yeah.
And there's a remix where it actually plays there's like an actual electric guitar and it plays like the Darth Vader music, like the dun dun
Oh.
dun dun dun, and they played it like really slow on the electric guitar, and it went right into the song Black Skinhead. I'd play that every time I was walking out because I always go out a little bit before we do like the team stretches.
Mm-hmm.
So like I would walk out by myself with that playing in these very headphones actually, and I would listen to that song. Then I'd probably listen to a few more Kanye songs slash like Meek Mill songs. And then when the whole group came out to do our like dynamic warm up, where we're just in like t-shirt and shorts, I'd turn on like some Metallica and do warm up to that. So that was kind of my routine. I did kind of the same thing every game.
That's so
So
cool.
yeah, I had. That's the thing though, because I'm really like it's not necessarily superstitious, but it's just a routine thing. I'm a big routine guy. So like every game, like they kept the roommates the same, like for the night before the games, like every game I was roomed with Steven Gonzalez, who was our starting left guard. So we were roomed the same. We would always go like to snack the night before, get the same snack. The morning of the game, always eat the same meal depending on like what time the game was. If it was an earlier game, we'd eat a little lighter. But like
Mm-hmm.
we always had the same routine, and I think routine's huge for me, like for playing games, kind of just staying like on the same path, like so your body gets used to it. Because if you change it up a little bit, like it could mess up like your day. So but yeah, no, music wise, that was my warm up jams to get pumped up.
That's actually really cool. So when you, freshman, well, when you started out going into Penn State, the atmosphere and like what were the feelings or what was going through you as like you step on that field and like you're almost in over 100,000 people every time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked this question like a lot of times, and like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us have. It's so hard to describe. Like, I think everyone's had the experience of being a fan at a whiteout. Like, I know I went to the whiteout game, Penn State 2014 against Ohio State. That was
Mm-hmm.
unreal. But then there's just a different feeling when you're going out onto the field, wearing the uniform, getting to run out while the fireworks are going off, especially a whiteout. That's the one we always refer to because it is the loudest. It is the
It's insane.
rowdiest game. Yeah, it is. And, the place is just shaking. The place is just shaking. Like, when we're walking out, and I always take a couple seconds before the game to really just, because I have to pay attention to the game, even if I'm not playing, as much. I need to pay attention just as much as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So I take a couple minutes when I go out there to really look around. I'll run out, obviously. The fireworks are going off. And then when I get to the sideline, I always look up to look for my parents because they sit behind the bench. So I always look for them, find them, point to them. And
Mm-hmm.
then I just, take a few seconds to really look around, kind of like when they start doing the "We Are Penn State" chant across the stadium. I kind of just take it all in there. And then when it's time to get ready for the kickoff, I just focus in on the game. And then, that's kind of it. So I always make sure I take a couple seconds to really take in that atmosphere, because there truly, no matter where I go during this transfer process, like there truly is not in professional sports or in college sports another atmosphere that's like Penn State at all.
No, and I think that's you're 100% right. Like I guess I'm not a big wrestling fan anymore. I used to be when I was a little kid, but like WWE, like WrestleMania, like they're in
Oh
front of
yeah.
like maybe 70, 80,000 people, but like it's not 100,000. Like it's just
Right,
crazy to
right. I
even
mean,
think
and
about.
like we have almost upwards
Even a
of like
Super Bowl.
111,000 people for like a whiteout. Like that
Mm,
is just insane. Gathering 111,000 people in one place, all of them screaming, is just unreal. Like it's unbelievable. You really have to. You can look up videos, like you can watch the video of this past whiteout with the Michigan game where it was
mhm.
so loud on the first play they had to call a
I was
timeout.
just I was just gonna reference that.
Like you can watch that on YouTube and be like, yeah, that's awesome, but like it's nothing compared to actually being there and experiencing it. It's just really so unreal.
I could tell you when I mean you probably have a different aspect, but like that game in general, I was working with Maria Taylor that game, and
Mm.
like so I couldn't even focus on like I was focused on it, but I wasn't like thinking about it as much. But then watching the videos back and forth, like after that first play, I was like, that's insane. Like I actually got chills, like
Yeah,
even there, and then rewatching it, like I'm sure you have a different or same story, kind of like just getting chills. Like that was just insane.
it's so um I don't even know. Like I said, I don't know how to describe it. It's really just so cool and so just invigorating. Like when you hear, like it's a cooler night too, like it's nighttime, the lights are on, which always changes up the mood, changes up the atmosphere. And then you add everyone wearing white, and then you add everyone just screaming. And it's just like that first play really was unreal. The only other time I really heard it louder than that first play was when we in 2016 blocked the field goal to go and return it for a touchdown against Ohio State to
I
win.
say
That was the loudest I've ever heard Beaver Stadium. So, but yeah, it was loud, dude. It's just so crazy to hear so many people. It's deafening, really.
well, and it confuses me with like Michigan why that even bothered them because like I'm thinking because like they have now the biggest stadium,
Right.
uh, so like I mean, what playing there was is it like that? Is can you reference like how different it is if it's big louder or not?
It's different, and I'll say like it can get loud there, but it's different
Mhm.
because the way their stadium is built. So like they have a huge stadium, but it goes like outward.
Oh, so
Where
it's not like a
ours
bowl,
kind of
like
goes more up. Like theirs is like a wide bowl. Ours
mm,
like goes more up, sort of. Ours goes out a little bit too, but it's more like on top of you.
and
So
it
the
can echo
sound is
in.
kind of in, yeah, right.
Mhm.
But I will say though, the loudest stadium that I've been at was Iowa. Um,
Really?
Iowa is the loudest, besides like Beaver Stadium and a whiteout. They were loud, especially this past year. They are loud, and like they only have like 70,000 people, and they are just extremely loud. Like you can bear, especially the first couple series when it was still a tight game, like you could barely hear. Like, and we train it, as a center, it's hard too because we go on a verbal cadence,
Mhm.
and so we train it all week with loud music, and nothing can really emulate like actually being there and like the loud screams, but yeah, Iowa's probably the loudest away stadium that I've been to.
Wow. And then so I guess when you're going into this now as a freshman and all the way through now, like there's been some obviously some big names who have transitioned from Penn State to the NFL. Like, we can reference Saquon, Trace, like a couple names like how is it playing with people like who are about to go to the NFL? Like it's like known. Like how is it like is it a distraction or is it just like motivation in a way?
Yeah, I mean it's motivational, I think, because it kind of shows you what you can do. I mean, we're at the level now where it's like, 1% of high school athletes make it to Division 1 football. And then
Mhm.
like a certain percentage of, you know, D1 athletes make it to the NFL. So but it shows you like, okay, you've made it this far. You just got to go out and be great, and you can do it too. Really, I mean, it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work, but that we all work hard, right? So
Mhm.
I think it just shows you. seeing guys like, Miles, who came in my class,
And Miles, yeah.
and just seeing him get drafted to the Birds, and just seeing that, and seeing Saquon, who I played with, it kind of is motivation. Like, okay, look, you can do this too.
Yeah.
You might not see it now, and other people might not see it now, but it just takes one good year, and that's really kind of what I'm doing right now. So I think it's been huge
Well,
motivation.
something that I have been I don't know if you know Marcus Stroman. He's a pitcher for the now New York Mets.
Mm,
He has this saying, it's height doesn't measure heart. He has
mm,
it in acronyms, but like, I mean, the height isn't the issue here, but like, I think something especially that scouts don't even really know, like, you, because no one can really judge this, is the heart that someone has to play the game. And I fully believe, like, you have the heart. It's like, along with skill and heart,
mm.
it's there. Like, you can have skill but no heart, it won't work out. But like, skill and heart, it's something that can't even, no one
Yeah.
can know
I
truly.
completely I completely agree with that. And that's kind of what my whole motto has been too. I'm not the biggest offensive lineman out there by any means, but I'm going to go out and outwork everyone on that field. And that's kind of how I've gotten to where I'm at. And it's how I'm going to continue to go further to where I want to get to.
Yeah, kind of like Derek Jeter. He was like, I'm not the most talented on these fields by any means, but I do know I'll work harder than
Right.
any of you
Right.
guys.
I mean, hard work, beats out talent when talent doesn't work hard, and that's probably, it goes along with all those other sayings. It's so true. It's not just a cliche. It's become more of a cliche, but it really is true. Like, if you just work hard, man, like, you won't be given everything. You're going to fail a lot of times, but if you just keep working hard, something comes. Like, something's going to break. Something's going to give somewhere. Someone's going to give you an opportunity. Someone's going to give you a chance. It just kind of is the way the world works. It's not going to be perfect. It might not happen when you expect it to or when you want it to, but it will happen. And that's kind of what
Hmm.
I've learned, and that's kind of just how I live my life.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. It's always going to be referenced back to just that saying. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Um, yeah. So I guess, how does it feel like to say that you were a Penn State football player? Like, I mean, that it's such a big name that carries around throughout the world.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. And like I said, I'm super grateful for the opportunity that I got from Coach Franklin and the other coaches, for not only just being at Penn State, for them, somewhat putting trust in me while I, during my time there, to go out and play well. And I think it's always going to be a cool thing to be able to say, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons I did it too. It's just the
Mm.
fact that it does give you kind of that advantage to know, okay, you went to Penn State. Not only did you go to Penn State, you played on the Penn State football team, which holds a lot of merit. And I think being able to say that, people look at you differently by saying, okay, well, we can now judge his work ethic without even really knowing who he is, because he
Mhm.
played football at a high level. So that alone is pretty cool for me, and worth it to me.
Yeah, like, what were your days like as a football player? Like, I'm sure waking up in the morning, practicing, and like all that stuff. Like, I'm sure it was so hard. Like, even HBO kind of covered it
Yeah.
in their little series, and they showed like the type of stuff they go through.
Yeah, honestly, like, the HBO didn't even show half of what we do. So it's a lot. And so I mean, a typical day is like, we wake up, we um try to get breakfast, because that's honestly is probably one of the most important meals for us, being as active as we are, to start getting our calories in. And then we will go to the classes. As a freshman, you definitely have an 8 a.m., so you're going to be going to the 8 a.m. class. Then after that, you're going to go to whatever class you have next. Most likely, as a freshman, sophomore, you're going to be going to classes all the way up until practice around 2:45. You get to practice, you kind of go get treatment if you need it, like if you're a little banged up or something, or you get your ankles taped, start getting dressed, whatever. We go into meetings, go to team meeting for like 15 minutes, go to individual meetings where we'll meet, watch film for like an hour and a half. Then finally we'll go out in the field and practice for about 2 hours. We'll get done around 7:30. Then we have to go get dinner. So we'll go get dinner, and then we have to go, as a freshman, you have to go and go to study hall, every night of the week, like Monday through Thursday. And so, you do that for like 2 hours as a freshman, those 4 nights a week. And, as you go on, you obviously don't need to do study hall hours, but you still need to do homework, like no matter what year you're in. So it's always after practice, okay, I got to go and do this homework. And then finally you get done homework by like 9, 10, whatever. And then you go to sleep because you have to get a good amount of sleep in, good 8 hours. And then you wake up and do it again. So that was kind of our daily lives
It's
in season. And then out of season, it's a little more lenient, but it's more like, we'll go to classes and then go and have either lifts or runs. And so it's kind of the same schedule. It's just a little looser because the lift and runs don't take as long as practice and meetings, but
mhm.
it's still, so you have a little more free time, but it's around the clock, it's around the, year round. And it's just, you have to love the game, really, is really what it's come to. There's some people who will come in as a freshman and then decide, okay, football's not for them because it's hard, man. You really have to love playing football to do what we do and put in the hours that we put in, and
Right.
I haven't missed a practice due to injury or otherwise, my four
Fingers crossed.
years,
Hmm.
fingers crossed. Yeah. But so far I haven't missed a practice at Penn State. And, so it's hard. You really got to love the game to do what we do.
And it's so much respect. Like, I mean, even like baseball practice, like what I would like. I mean, that's waking up early and all, but like nothing like a football practice. I know
Yeah.
that it's insane, and like I feel like whenever you choose whatever other school you go to, I'm curious how different it's gonna be, or if it's the same at high intensity. It's gonna be a whole different thing for you. But like what about game like weeks of the games? Like is it as intense, like especially like big games? Like was it hard to go through all that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing was for us was it's always the same approach to whatever game. And I think that's a good approach. I think if you prepare the same way no matter who you're playing, I think that'll help you be way more consistent as a team. You won't get like these kind of like blowout losses like you'll see like some ranked teams get beat by unranked teams. You won't have those if you approach every game with the same mentality and the same approach. So no matter the game, we still had the same practices. So Tuesday and Thursday were our main practice days, or Tuesday and Wednesday, excuse me, when we would do like hard practices, hitting physical practices. And then Thursday was kind of like it wasn't as long of a practice. It would be more of like a walkthrough tempo. So we're not hitting. And then Friday wouldn't be hitting either. It would be kind of more of like okay, we're going to recap everything we did throughout the week. We're going to start ramping up the intensity in terms of like speed. So we'll run, but we're not hitting anybody, nothing like that. We're not even really wearing pads. We're wearing like shell shoulder pads. We're not wearing our actual full shoulder pads and like a helmet. So we were kind of ramping up the intensity there just so we get ready for game day the next day. And, so we're ready. So they're not overly intense. Like it's not camp where you're hitting every day. We hit two days a week, 2 of the practices a week. And then, the next 2 practices are kind of like, okay, let's get our bodies ready for the game. So, but yeah, the practices are intense. No matter what level you get to, they're always more and more intense. Like I thought in high school, like, oh man, these practices are hard. Then I got to college and I'm like, these are really hard, so but you get used to them. So like after this past year in college, like the practices weren't incredibly difficult. You get used to them every year you do them. So, but they're not meant to be easy because we always want to make it harder during the practice than it might be in the game. So we're ready
Right.
for the game, whatever happens.
That's actually really interesting. Now, before I kind of hit on the transfer portal quick, as a athlete, like when you're walking around campus, with your backpack, like is it weird getting attention, or like do you kind of like want to shy away from that?
Yeah, like I'm not, like I told you a couple times already, I don't like attention all that much.
Hmm.
I mean, the thing is everyone's watching you. Like everyone knows who you are. Not to say it in like a pessimistic way, but like you always have a target on your back, so to speak. Like everyone knows you're an athlete, so you better be doing the right thing. Not that that's a problem for me, but I'm saying for athletes in general, like they know who you are. But it's cool to be like, okay, I'm actually on this campus now. I'm at Penn State as a Penn State football player. Like that's something I've dreamed about my whole life. So like I said, that's pretty cool to me, but I'm not a huge fan of the attention, so to speak. So
Mhm.
it is what it is. Just kind of comes with the territory. But
And so I guess when we talk about the transfer portal now, so um, going through this whole process, was it like scary at first doing all this type of stuff?
yeah,
Entering it?
yeah, it was a like I don't want to say it was a risk, but it kind of was because like I'm not sure what's gonna happen. I'm not sure what team's gonna get me. Even if I go in the portal, I'm not sure if I'd be able to come back to Penn State if I wanted to do that. But so it was a risk, and it was risky, and it's tough because you're probably like you're probably going to transfer to a place where you haven't been for 4 years, new people, new coaches, new systems. But it's just I knew that the time was right, and I knew that it's kind of what I had to do to get to where I want to ultimately get to with the NFL.
Hmm.
So it was scary to do it, but once it was done, it was done, and I've just been kind of going through the process ever since.
Well, it's kind of respect because when I did the initial news video on you, like I said, anyone could check that out if they're listening to it. Just I'll put that in the thing. Kind of talks about your process so far. But when you entered, like you, even though you could have gone back to possibly like the gyms at like for football with the at Penn State, but like you kind of chose to just go in the public and like do it there because like it could have been awkward if you went back, but like it's like you're still grinding every day. And like when I was following you with that, that was just intense and it was crazy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of respect, doing that. And like I feel like it's a whole different atmosphere when you're kind of doing that stuff.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it was different to be going out kind of on your own, like on my own, and going to the IM building up at Penn State and like having to go and work out on my own, not having my own facility to go train, kind of do my own workouts. But I'm lucky enough that I know kind of enough about like how workouts should be structured, stuff like that, that I could do that and feel comfortable with what I was doing. So, it was different. It was kind of weird. But then again, I kind of like lifting on my own. I kind of like doing that stuff on my own every now and then. So it was a different experience. But I think I adjusted to it pretty quickly and still, the main focus was what's my goal? Where do I want to get to? All right, I want to get to the NFL. How am I going to do that? I'm going to go to a school and grind it out and be the best player there and be the best player in the nation, no matter what level that I'm at. That's the
Hmm.
goal. And, how do I achieve that? Well, it starts with working out, building that foundation. And that's kind of just what I've been doing since I decided to go in the portal and just doing it on my own, really, and still now to this day. So
Right.
it's always a work in progress, and we're always grinding.
And you were like you went to camps, like you've met Lane Johnson, and
Yeah.
I believe you talked to Jason Kelsey a little bit. Like I bet they still give great advice, and like the camps were probably so helpful.
Yeah, I mean, we went to the O-line, so I'm actually wearing the shirt now. It's OL Masterminds, and and no, it's a cool summit. They only invited a couple. It's invite only, and they only invited a couple college players. It's mainly NFL offensive linemen, and we just talk and talk for 3 days and kind of go over technique stuff and how do you do this. And I talked to Ryan Jensen, the center for the Buccaneers, and how does he block a guy who's a straight head up nose on the center, like in pass pro? Like, how does he do that?
Mm.
What techniques does he like to use? Okay, he likes to use those techniques. Okay, well, then I'll go to Brandon Brooks, who's the right guard for the Eagles. What do you like to do? And talk to him. And then obviously I've been more in contact probably with Lane Johnson, actually, even over the past couple weeks too.
Oh
I've
shit.
talked a little bit to him. He's actually training. I don't know if he still is right now because of all the stuff going on, but he's training with a guy that I know also kind of through this offensive line stuff down in Oklahoma. And they were like, come down here and come train with us. And I'm like, well, I can't right now because of all the quarantine stuff going on, but hopefully I'll be able to make it down there if they loosen that stuff up. But really getting to learn and kind of train with these guys and see what they're doing is huge. And, I will take anything that I can. I'll always push to be, in the room where I can learn
Hmm.
stuff that maybe others aren't. Always got to find how to get that edge on people. And, that's what I do by, talking to Lane, I talked to Kelsey last summer and just kind of talking to those people, Jensen and my man Duke Manyweather,
Duke.
who's an offensive line trainer. He's the one. Him and Lane are basically the one that do this O-line Mastermind Summit in Texas over the summer. So just talking to him too. And like the other day, I was doing technique work out in my backyard, and I sent him a video and said, "Hey, can you critique some of the stuff I'm doing?" And he told me stuff to work on, and that's what I'm doing. So just having these connections and getting that edge that people might not have, I think it's what separates being good from being great.
Yeah, there's always people, there's people working hard, and then there's people and then they kind of slack, and then there's people who work harder, and then they pass them up. And that's, picking people's brains is definitely a key thing. So I, 100% respect that. And I don't know if you want to mention the team that contacted you, but like, since last time I talked to you, like, what teams have you been more in talks with, especially during quarantine and after, National Signing Day with high school players? Like, has there been some key teams that you've been focusing in on now?
Yeah, so I have 3 schools mainly that I'm talking to right now. It's Charlotte, UNC Charlotte, Eastern Kentucky, and Richmond. So Eastern Kentucky and Richmond are D1 AA, so FCS, and Charlotte is an FBS team in the group of 5. They're in the Conference USA, so they play teams like Old Dominion, but they play a couple out of conference games. Like they'll play this year coming up, they play Tennessee and Duke. So like they play a couple Power 5 teams, and then
I know someone who plays at Old
Richmond.
Dominion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Field hockey, not football.
Field hockey. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I was gonna say, football.
Yeah, I'll keep going.
But yeah, no. So I have decisions to make. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. And I think the only school I was able to visit so far has been Richmond. And then all this stuff hit. I really wasn't able to get to the other schools. And, I want to really make sure I can weigh my decision properly by going and visiting these coaches in these schools and seeing what they're about before I make a final decision. So, but those are the big 3 right now.
I'm sure they could respect that as well. Like I remember when we were at Carver's Deli, which is a great spot. If you're in Penn State, go to Carver's Deli. But I remember you were going on your trip out to Richmond, which was interesting. But I'm sure they respect, they're especially during quarantine. And it just hit me on this question. First off, I have 8% left, so I'm not trying to rush this. So
we'll finish it up.
Are you like with quarantine going on, like if there's possibly not another season, that's kind of scary right now to even think about?
It is. I'm trying not to think about it because honestly, it's not that big of a chance of happening. It doesn't seem like it's going to go on for that long where we'd have to cancel the whole season, but God forbid it happens. I don't know what I'd do necessarily right now, but I'm sure I would do something that would be helpful towards my football career. But, I'm not sure about that right now. But, yeah, with the quarantine, this is all stuff that we did not see happening, obviously. No one saw it coming, and nobody knows really how to react. So right now it's kind of just a waiting game, and, like, they understand and, the situation I'm in, and I hate the fact that I have to keep them waiting, but it just is what it is. I have to make the best decision possible for me. And, that just involves waiting right now.
Yeah, and then so when you're a year from now, it could be a different story. And maybe I was just thinking about this. Maybe kind of do some step by step, like you come back on the show, kind of give an update like that. That could be really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like you may have addressed it already, but I will definitely come on this podcast more than once because I think it's fun, especially when.
You are going to be a recurring member. That's what I listed you at.
Yes. So, yeah, and it's going to be even more fun when we can get multiple people on the call. I think that would be hilarious. But
we have a Penn State episode.
Oh, yes. Cannot wait. You got to let me know when that is, by the way. But
yeah, it'll be soon.
Yeah. But no, so, I'll definitely give you updates as we're going along, too.
That'd be so interesting because, like, we don't, you don't even know where you're going to go yet. But first off, I don't know who's listening to this, but shout out to any NFL team listening to this because Hunter's a stud. I mean, I pancaked him when we did when I was going up against him but I mean, not everyone's like me. I'm not, no one's as huge as me. So
Yeah, honestly, Adam might be the best pass rusher I've gone against ever.
I mean, I'm probably gonna enter the draft, to be honest
I've
with you.
I've even had to block like Micah and like other people like Cam Brown and a bunch of other people.
Yeah,
Adam's still the best, dude.
dude, you're making me blush. Stop.
Any NFL team listening, we're a package deal. You take me, you got to take Adam too.
We'll
He
be a
might not be a
Super.
player, but he could be like a good social media person or something.
Yeah, I could do something, but I mean, we'll win a Super Bowl. That's for sure. Whatever team I'll be on, we're winning a Super Bowl.
Hopefully it's the Birds. Let's bring another one
It's
back
gonna
to
be,
Philly,
yeah.
baby.
Well, say you play for the Birds, dude. That'd be awesome. Not even
That's my
hilarious. That'd be
dream,
like
dude.
amazing, dude.
That's my next dream. It was Penn State. Reach
Hey,
that.
a goal.
You're right. It's my goal. Let's get to the Birds. I will
Yeah, I mean,
happily take Jason Kelsey's place when he's done. He's coming to the end, and guess what? I'm gonna be in the mix next year. So Eagles,
that could be so interesting to even think about.
Eagles, choose wisely. Okay,
Eagles,
choose wisely next
please.
year. Just
This
check out
could
my
be
film. We'll get it. We'll get it right.
this could be another towel because Hunter, you added.
Yes, I'll sign that for you if you want. After
Dude,
I
that'd be
get
amazing.
drafted, that'd be fantastic.
Just don't be like that. I don't know if you remember that guy. He was a Halo. He got popular with the Halo singing, and then the Eagles
Oh
drafted
yes.
him. I don't know if it ever worked out with him. Hopefully it didn't. But
I won't be like that.
but I was gonna hit on quick when you do decide to enter the draft after hopefully a very successful year. Besides the Birds, is there any like really specific teams you want to play for, or just anybody?
Anyone that'll give me a chance. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. I can't really be choosy when I really just want to go play football. Obviously, my dream team is the Eagles. But really, any team that wants me, I will go and give 1,000% to them. So
And there'll be another towel, just maybe not with the Eagles, who knows? But it's gonna be a towel, guaranteed.
you're right. Yes, hopefully it is with the Eagles. Hopefully.
That'd be amazing. But so I guess before we kind of hit it off here, because 5% now, which is
We're on
we're
the
killing
clock.
we're killing this. But besides football, because we talked about so much about football, and I'm sure people are going to be wanting to know more about inside, like behind the scenes stuff, because that's so interesting. That's why we could do multiple episodes with this. But just as a education career, like you talked about, you want to be a political reporter and all, and so like, would you try to like consider like try to do that on the side if you were playing a football career, or
It would probably have to wait until afterwards. I think football would just consume my life at that level. I'm getting paid. If I go to the NFL, I'm getting paid to do that. I think the journalism would just have to wait till after I get done. But I think it's great to have, because the NFL stands for not for long, hopefully for long, but usually not. So, but if I can go and be great and play for 10 plus years, that'd be fantastic. But whenever football's over, that's when journalism will come in. So hopefully throughout my life, no matter what, I'll never work a day in my life, because I think I'll just be having fun with football and then journalism.
and
Hopefully,
just doing
fingers crossed.
yeah, exactly, doing all that. Like I know with me, like I always said like I would love to play baseball at that level, and then right after that go into sports TV and then do all that. So like it's kind of the same mindset. But
Yeah.
also I want to add acting to the resume, because that'd be sick, dude.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm definitely it might be a thing, like, I don't know. I might try to do it like on the side of journalism or something. That's something I could do maybe on the side of journalism, but like that's also like a when I retire thing, just going on like auditions after audition, because I think that's once I retire, that's going to be definitely like my kind of hobby, I think.
And that's exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like we're definitely, I want to do an episode with you. I want to be an actor as well, like do acting. We
Yes.
could be heartthrobs. We could be heartthrobs to the world.
I'm completely okay with doing that, just so we're aware.
People could see on live TV how much of a good pass rusher I am.
Oh God. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
So we don't really have any more things to cover right now. Like I said, I want to do more episodes, because like this is all so interesting, and I think it'd be really cool stuff behind the scenes. But Well, let me think. Let me hear what you think of this outro. I've been I tried it with my last episode for my Bachelor episode I just did recently.
Let's
But
hear it.
so we just went out on a limb. Now you take a branch and either do something different or just be yourself. Peace.
I like it.
It's different. It's a little stupid, but it's different.
I like it. You have to have something. You have to be a little crazy sometimes to do good things.
Yeah, I mean this is something completely new. But before we get off, plug yourself quick. Where can people follow you and kind of follow your path?
You can follow me on Twitter at _ Hunter Kelly, HunterKelly. There's no E in there. Ridiculous. Underscore. So _ Hunter Kelly _ Instagram at the official HK. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? Those are the two socials that I use. So go follow me on there if you want. If you're listening, hit me up, say what's up. Yeah.
This is definitely going to be, we're going to be touching on this more. And Hunter, like I said, he's a recurring member, and we're going to be doing an episode with a couple other kids that we also went to Carver's Deli with. And, that's going to be a fun episode. I'm going to have a blast with that one.
Cannot wait.
All right. I'll talk to you later, Hunter.
All right, man.
All right. Peace.
See ya.